Alright, if that's not how I intro. Hey there, guys. Today we're back with another extra credits video. This time, Khosrau on the Immortal Soul Extra History number 3. Fucking nailed it. Before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. I would love if you join the Discord and followed me over at Twitch. I'm gonna be honest, I completely forgot what happened in the previous two Khosrau videos. So, oops. We'll see if I can remember. I think number 2 was war with Rome, right? And then peace with Rome. There's like internal shit happening. They're fighting some eastern enemy, I think. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive right in.
When Khosrau defeated Mazdak and put down his brother's rebellion,
oh yeah, he was killing his bro.
The priests gave him a new name, Anushirawan, the Immortal Soul. It was an honor that he intended to earn. Upon coming into his own, Khosrau burst into a flurry of action nearly unparalleled in history. He reformed almost every aspect of the empire, trying to fix those broken systems that had nearly doomed his father's reign and guiding Iran into a new golden age. Both his and his father's successions had nearly been derailed by pressures on their army. It turns out that structuring your military as a single unified force means that it can only serve on one side of the empire at a time, and a single defeat, or even an overcommitment to a single border, could easily leave you scrambling for emergency funds to hire another army at the last minute. Khosrau planned to expand and restructure his military, but to do that, he was gonna need money. His father, who had recognized this same issue, had long ago begun a property survey of the entire empire, cataloging what each citizen owned and what they could afford to pay. But a survey that long takes forever, so it wasn't complete until Khosrau's time. Khosrau made use of this immediately. He levied new taxes that demanded a fixed amount based on wealth, asking the richest citizens to pay the most. He also
makes logical sense.
Required that taxes be paid with coin and not goods. He didn't need his farmers' perishable wheat. He needed gold. In the end, people ended up paying higher taxes than they used to, but their tax rate was now consistent, year after year. No more panicked emergency levies. And now, Khosrau could stockpile that non-perishable money for a rainy day. Next on the reform list was tax collection. For generations, the noble families had been responsible for both assessing and collecting taxes. But now that Kavad's land survey had made their assessments irrelevant, Khosrau delivered the killing blow by taking away their ability to collect taxes too. In their place, he created a new upper middle class called the Dagans, and appointed them as tax collectors who answered only to Khosrau and the priests. The nobles could no longer lie about how much wealth their provinces generated, or skim off the top to line their own pockets at the expense of the imperial treasury. Of course, the Dagans eventually became corrupt in their own right, but Khosrau had succeeded where it mattered most to him. He took power away from the noble families and doubled revenues for his empire. Now flush with cash, Khosrau could finally afford his military overhaul. He split it into 4 divisions, one for each corner of the empire. Each division would be led by its own general, and here Khosrau threw the noble families a bone by assigning them command. This was a sly power play too, though, because he made sure that the nobles were never given command of an army in their home region, so they could never consolidate power against him. And where nobles had once been the only class allowed to serve as elite cavalry, Iran's most prestigious unit, Khosrau now allowed the Dagans into that exclusive club. Khosrau had learned well from his father's reign. Kavad had tried to
smart man,
go after the nobles directly by embracing Mazdak, a mistake that nearly cost him the empire. Khosrau, on the other hand, had won the nobles' favor by opposing Mazdak before quietly rooting out their other sources of power and replacing them with the Dagans, a loyal new social class of his own creation. The nobles still had influence, but not enough to threaten Khosrau the way Sukhra once threatened Kavad. And with these reforms, the empire flourished. Khosrau built walls at the 4 key entrances to his empire, making it easier to defend against invaders on all sides. He built a better network of roads so his armies could travel more quickly, and that network enticed even more merchants from China and India along the prosperous Silk Road. This influx of trade brought not only wealth, but knowledge. Khosrau imported works on
Knowledge?
mathematics, astronomy, and philosophy from India on one side and Rome on the other, hoping to create a court of learning. Iran already had a long history of embracing education. 300 years before Khosrau, the founders of his own Sasanian dynasty had built a university complete with state-funded scholarships and the promise of safety and freedom to all who studied there. That promise lured refugee scholars from the Eastern Roman Empire, where Justinian had recently banned pagan teachings, leaving the classical Greek scholars from the famous School of Athens with nowhere to go. Khosrau welcomed them to his own university with open arms, and they declared him worthy of the title Plato's Philosopher King. The title was nice, but sticking it to Justinian, even nicer.
Nice.
Khosrau took a genuine personal interest in education. He attended a medical conference at the university with physicians from around the world, and after listening to them, he decided to add a hospital to his university. The library he built for it consisted of 259 rooms filled with row upon row of medical texts translated into every language. But even that incredible library was not enough for Khosrau. He wanted to gather...
I respected Khosrau. I like Khosrau more than I like Justinian.
...all of the knowledge about Iran into one place. He urged his advisors to collect and write down their history going back to ancient times. Alas, this great collection would be lost several centuries later.
Of course it fucking was. God damn it.
But before it disappeared, it provided the basis for Iran's great national epic, the Shahnameh. And the Shahnameh's author came from Khosrau's own Dagan class, as the Dagans would become the empire's leading class of scholars. But Khosrau wasn't done yet. His next great challenge would be an attempt to restore the sacred text of Iran's Zoroastrian religion. Even today, Zoroastrianism is one of the world's oldest active religions, with roots dating back at least as far as the 5th century BCE, and probably a lot farther. The belief system taught by the prophet Zoroaster had originally been passed down through the oral tradition. At one point, those teachings were written down in a great collection known as the Avesta, but when Alexander the Great conquered Iran in 330 BCE, he had burned down the old Shah's palace, and the Avesta with it. The oral tradition was all that remained. But in the centuries since that fire, many of Iran's great shahs had attempted to collect and re-record the Avesta from those oral accounts. Khosrau's predecessors had laid much of the groundwork, but he was determined to finish the job. He assigned his priests to review and rationalize their collection, organizing the scattered fragments into a master copy that set the standard for Orthodox faith. Khosrau became a mirror for cultured behavior that upper-class Iranians were expected to follow. Schools for the education of young noblemen began teaching the sciences as well as the courtly arts like poetry and music. And best of all, Khosrau insisted that anybody who wanted respect in Iran become really, really good at board games. After visiting India in search of medical knowledge, one of Khosrau's university physicians had brought back the games chess and backgammon. Chess had been devised as a military strategy game, teaching players to manage an army in battle formation. Backgammon, on the other hand, quickly acquired new Iranian rules that reflected the random nature of fate in the Zoroastrian belief system. Together, these games taught important lessons about how to control what you can and accept what you can't. And it was through Iran and Khosrau's ever-active trading network with Rome that chess and backgammon traveled to the West and became the games we know today. All of these changes and reforms were the product of a lifetime for Khosrau, but he laid the foundation for them in the very first years of his reign. It was the perfect time. The Hephthalites were busy fending off Turks in the north, the Arabs had allied with Iran and created a buffer zone to the south, and the Romans, under Justinian, had signed a treaty known as the Eternal Peace. With so few enemies to threaten him, Khosrau seized the opportunity and proved himself worthy of the name Anushirawan, which Iranians still know him by today. But the peace which allowed Khosrau to launch his empire of reforms would soon come to an end. Beleaguered Ostrogoth messengers stumbled into Iran across a Roman border opened by the Treaty of Eternal Peace. They raced along the roads that Khosrau had recently rebuilt to beg for an audience with the Shah. And when the veils lifted to reveal Khosrau on his throne, the messengers spoke. Justinian has sent all of his armies to attack us in the west. Please, help us.
It's literally the next episode literally titled Trolling Justinian. Oh my fucking god. This fucking man. Alright. That was Khosrau, Anushirawan. Oh, did I get that first try? Oh shit. The Immortal Soul. Extra History number 3 by Extra Credits. This was a good episode. I don't think it was as strong as parts 1 and 2 for me. Hopefully they recover with the trolling for part 4. Hopefully that one's... I don't know. This one... I don't know what it was. The pacing was off for me. I don't know. But still enjoyed it. They're still very good at telling their stories here. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.